70 million acres of wide-open possibilities. Nevada is untouched. A place where the desert comes to life, the ground holds the history, and nature perseveres.
It's a little deceiving, and then you open up into this well-lit cavern. It's just incredible.
At Hidden Cave, I discover the treasures left behind by the native people.
You're telling me now the 70s belongs in a museum?
Exactly.
You're killing me.
You're going to have to donate your bell bottoms and your beanbag chair.
Right off Highway 50, I explore the best little museum in Nevada.
The excess are removed and they're brought to the facility, and then we try to place them into adoptive homes.
I learn how the state cares for Nevada's wild horses.
This was the Best and Belcher Mining Company established this mine in 1859.
And in Virginia City, I explore a mine attached to a saloon.
Pretty spectacular, isn't it? Nevada's like that.
I'm John Burke. Join me as I explore the 7th largest state in the nation, here on Outdoor Nevada.
Today I'm traveling just east of Fallon to Grimes Point, where thousands of years worth of human and geological history waits to tell me what life was like in ancient Nevada.
Hey, Donna.
Hama, Nagana Donna Cassette. Nice to see you, John.
Well, that was beautiful. What language was that?
It means hello, I'm Donna Cassette, and it's Northern Paiute.
Northern Paiute?
Yes, Toitikata dialect.
And that tribe is nearby here?
Yes, my tribe is actually really close to Stillwater Wildlife Refuge. It's about maybe 5 miles or from that area, and we live on about a 6,500 acre tract of land.
Beautiful. And you're also with the local museum here, yeah?
Yes, I am the registrar. I handle the artifacts, and when people donate items to the museum, I put them on display or curate them the best I possibly can.
When you say artifacts, you're talking about some that come from this area. Where exactly are we, and what's been discovered here?
Where we're at right now is Hidden Cave, and it's in the general area of Grimes Point.
And rediscovered in the 20th century in about 1920?
Yes, a couple of young farm boys wanted to come out into this area and hike around because they heard of some lost treasure from an old Wells Fargo stagecoach. And they were looking for this treasure, and they felt cool air coming out. And so they wanted to come back with their little lanterns later and go up in there, and what they found was a different type of treasure.
But treasure nonetheless.
After the boys stumbled into this cave, a miner later found it while on the hunt for some bat guano. He later mentioned seeing some artifacts, sparking the attention of local archaeologist Margaret Wheat, who quickly assembled an expedition into the cave.
Oh my gosh, Donna, I had no idea it was going to be this big.
Yes, if you can imagine having 2 NBA basketball games in here along with their audiences around the rim, kind of gives you a little perspective as to how large it really is.
Well, you have to crouch down to get in here at first. And so it's a little deceiving, and then you open up into this well-lit cavern. It's just incredible. So when was this excavated? Because it happened more than once.
Yes, there was an excavation in the 1940s, 50s, and in the 1979 to 1980.
And what did they find?
There was all kinds of stuff that was found, and if you want to look right over here, this is considered a cache pit, and this is where we would store things for a later time. And the items that would have been found here would have been seeds, berries, plant materials, dried meats, and it not only had just food items, there were other things. So if you look right here, you can see an actual arrow shaft there.
Wow.
And what kind of arrow shaft that is, I guess we're gonna find out in history, whether it's an atlatl dart or an arrow. I think it's an atlatl dart.
Why did they do that?
This would have been saved for a later time because if there was conflict outside and if you had to protect yourself, whether it was harsher conditions or if it was drought of some sort, or if there was actual physical confrontation that was going to happen, the women and children would have retreated to a place that would have been secret like this.
So this was primarily for women and children?
And that's what was just recently discovered, that this was mostly used by women.
Geologically, this looks volcanic to me.
It is. It's a lot of basalt rock, and they're concreted together with natural materials around us, and it forms this huge cave. Ancient Lake Lahontan came in here and carved this whole thing out, and the elements over time is what filled this up with more dirt, whether it came in through rain puddling in here or the wind blowing through here. And this is what you get, is these different strata in the earth right here.
The various strata, or layers of material within the cave, provide plentiful information to scientists, including when Lake Lahontan was at high and low levels, wet and dry climates of the area, and exactly when humans put the cave to use.
What are all these tags?
Now these tags, when the archaeologists came in here and they were excavating, they started digging through here, and you can see like these little numbers that say 70/42. And over here on this side, you're gonna see one that says 70/42. They wanted to keep track of the excavation as they're going, where they found those artifacts, because it can tell, again, a time in history.
Although most sites are eventually filled back in, Hidden Cave has remained in a state of permanent excavation to educate the public about archaeological investigations.
You're gonna see this little yellow string right here, and on the other side, you're gonna see ash mark. That ash mark came from Mount Mazama. It was an ancient volcano that erupted over 6,900 years ago, and it landed, it made its way in here. And not every cave can say that in the Great Basin, or at least our part of the Great Basin. And that ash mark dates back to over 6,900 years. And so from there, they're able to see that anything above that is younger than that date, anything below that is older.
About 1,100 years ago, the Mono Crater's volcanic area in California erupted, leaving a second layer of ash to be explored in the cave.
Did the boys ever find the Wells Fargo gold?
I don't think so, but look at the treasure that they did
Keep
find.
looking though. In all seriousness, what does this place mean to you?
As Northern Paiutes, we are very well aware of our cultural places, and they do have significant importance to us, and they will continue to. And I do thank people for wanting to come and educate them about our culture and just be a part of it.
Donna, I'm going to leave it at that. It's so well said. Thank you for this day and this tour. I really do appreciate it.
I really appreciate you coming out here. Puni dua.
Puni dua.
I part ways with Donna to make one last stop at Grimes Point.
Just a short hike away from Hidden Cave, about a quarter mile, is Burnt Cave. It's one of 3 very important sites to see in this area just outside of Fallon. If you care at all about geology or human history, put this on your bucket list. So I'm driving through Nevada, and I see this sign, the best little museum on the loneliest road in America. That's too good to pass up. Come on.
When Nevada celebrated its 100th birthday of statehood in 1964, Fallon businesses displayed artifacts in store windows. The celebration sparked the initiative to preserve Churchill County's rich history.
Dan, good seeing you, brother.
It's nice to meet you, John.
So this place is much bigger than I thought, and there's a lot of stuff here. How big is this place?
We have at least 6,000 square feet of exhibits, and then we have another several thousand square feet of storage that you don't even get to see.
Where do you get the stuff?
Everything that we have here is either been given to us or is on loan from people in the community or from families who were here.
And this covers Nevada history all the way through. I mean, it doesn't stop at the Pony Express. You have stuff through decades.
Exactly, and it begins very early on. So it's not just the pioneer story of covered wagons, it's the story of Native Americans who've been here for thousands of years.
Visitors get a first-hand look into evolution of life in the area. From the Northern Paiutes who traveled with the seasons, to the farmers who made alfalfa crops a local treasure, and to the pioneers, like Mark Twain himself, who traveled the treacherous stretch of the emigrant trail known as the 40-mile desert.
Give me some examples of the things that people can see here.
We have some historic rooms where you can look back in time and see a Victorian bedroom and see a Victorian parlor. I'm hoping to see us update that so you can see a 1970s pad with its waterbed and beanbag chair.
You're telling me now the 70s belongs in a museum?
Exactly.
You're killing me.
You're going to have to donate your bell bottoms and your beanbag chair.
So you're a museum in Fallon on the loneliest road in America, but you get people coming through here from Jersey and...
Exactly. Every year we get a large number of visitors who travel the Lincoln Highway from, say, New Jersey to California, or all of the amazing people who worked at the Naval Air Station here often come back and visit us.
In 1996, Fallon became the headquarters for the United States Navy Strike Fighter Tactics Instructor Program. You may be more familiar with its less formal name, Top Gun.
This is our parlor, and this would be the center of the Victorian home or the Edwardian home. It has the most decorative furniture, the greatest knickknacks. This is the showcase for the family. And so this is set up as if you had great paintings, great silver, great porcelains, great furniture.
And you have a hair wreath.
Yes.
What is that?
In the 19th century and early 20th century, women tended to have very long hair, and so they would brush it each night, and then they would clean out their brush and put it into a little pot called a hair receiver. And then they would take those strands, weave them together, and form them into things like wreaths and jewelry and all kinds of extraordinary little things made of human hair.
After traveling through time from one room to another, or one century to the next, there's a whole separate building to explore.
All right, Dan, you've been holding out on me. Now I'm in a whole new wing of this. Tell me about some of the things that are in here.
Well, we have everything from the covered wagon to the Page touring car to a 1908 Oldsmobile to a 1930s school bus that was actually driven by one of the students.
You're telling me back in the day the students would drive themselves?
They drove themselves to school. We have oral histories of people talking about what it was like to go out in the winter in one of these buses and pick up the folks along the way. So it's something that I'd never seen before.
No, and I'm sure I understand why that got stopped. You also have a part of the collection here that's still used.
Yes, our fire trucks go out each year to all of the parades in Fallon. The firemen come in, they fire them up and drive them right out of the building.
Among the museum's many unique vehicles stands one of the few remaining Springfield Steam Road rollers. This particular vehicle was used in the construction of the Lahontan Dam in the early 1900s.
And the telegraph equipment, tell me about some of that.
We have extraordinary telegraph and telephone equipment that belong to the county-owned telephone company. So we have one of the largest collections of insulators I've ever seen. And then we have phone booths. A lot of kids have never seen a payphone, much less a phone booth. And, you know, there was a time when you made a call in public that you wanted to do it in private.
And I've had the time of my life. Thank you, buddy. I really appreciate it.
All right, it's been fun.
If you ever find yourself on the loneliest road in America, be sure to add the Churchill County Museum to your list of stops. It will take you on a journey through Nevada's most fascinating history.
From historic buildings to antique fire trucks and Native American artifacts, it's clear that the Churchill County Museum will continue to tell Nevada's history for generations to come. The people of Nevada love to roll up their sleeves and try and solve a problem the best that they can. And that's why today I'm at the Palomino Valley National Wild Horse and Burro Center. You may have heard about these animals in the wild straining resources. Well, these guys are on the case.
Spanish settlers first introduced horses to America in the 1500s. They've thrived on Nevada lands in the years since. Perhaps a bit too much.
John, good seeing you, buddy.
Good to see you.
Now tell me about this program, where I am today.
Well, you are at the Palomino Valley Wild Horse and Burro Center. This is the main holding and preparation center for wild horses and burros that are removed from Nevada's public rangelands.
And why would they be removed there and brought here?
We have herd areas out on our public lands in Nevada on BLM and Forest Service administrated lands. And when populations exceed their carrying capacity out there, the excess are removed and they're brought to the facility, and then we try to place them into adoptive homes.
Every 4 years, wild horse populations double in size. Without human intervention, this dramatic increase creates a devastating impact on public lands and the health of these animals.
Once animals arrive, they go through a little bit of a settling period, and then we have a preparation process that consists of all the major equine vaccinations, deworming. We determine age, and they also get an identification number, which is through a freeze marking process.
Horses at the facility undergo a painless procedure using a cold iron chilled in liquid nitrogen to mark them as property of the U.S. government.
You have a lot of work here that you're doing, but tell me about somebody who's interested in adopting one. What happens?
Well, there's an application process that the public has to go through. They fill out. They have to meet some minimum qualifications to take an animal home with them, pay a minimal fee of $125 per head, and then we will load the animal up on a horse trailer and they'll take it home with them.
The Palomino Valley Center places about 50 animals in Nevada and California homes annually, and an additional 75 to 100 through the BLM's Adopt a Horse website. Nationally, an average of 3,000 horses are adopted every year.
What if a horse is here long enough to not get adopted? Now we're talking about 7 years old, even maybe a little older. What happens?
Those animals eventually get trucked or shipped back to the Midwest, and we have pasture facilities back there that we contract with, and they're turned out on large pastures, and they just graze and live out there for their duration.
The BLM contracts off-range pastures and partners with eco-sanctuaries to provide over 300,000 acres of land for horses who don't get adopted. They then live out their lives free roaming on open pastures.
Tell me about adopting a burro as opposed to a horse. Why would you do one over the other?
Personal preference. You know, some folks just like to have maybe an animal that's just going to be out in pasture, and, you know, burros can be used for packing, just like the horses as well. Burros are also good guard animals. So, for instance, if maybe you have some livestock, sheep perhaps, they keep predators at bay.
This facility stretches over 80 acres of land, 60 of which provide corrals for the horses and burros waiting to find homes. Up to 1,800 animals can be housed here at any time.
What you're doing here is a big deal because the horse population on the range is in Nevada a specific issue, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. Nevada's got approximately 77 separate herd management areas in it. It has over 50% of the wild horse population out of the 10 western states.
So there's a lot of them out there.
There's a lot of animals out there.
Tell me about some of the programs that you partner with.
We have several inmate programs throughout the West. They hold animals there, and then they pick from those animals, and the inmates train. And they go through about a 100-day training period, maybe a little bit longer, and get those animals gentled, and they ride them, and then they'll hold an adoption or auction event to the public.
And that rehabilitates both the animal and the inmate, at least that's the idea.
Absolutely, it's a win-win. You know, the inmates learn some life skills, they learn empathy, and of course, they're gentling a horse that we can place into a good home.
In partnership with the BLM's efforts, the Mustang Heritage Foundation created the Extreme Mustang Makeover, which gives trainers 100 days to prepare these animals for an equine competition. At the end of this period, the public has the opportunity to take home some newly trained horses.
You're running on a treadmill that, for all practical purposes, is getting faster. I mean, what do you see as the future of this?
Our biggest challenge is sustaining population growth on the range, but in turn, also trying to place these animals into adoptive homes. The program's working very hard to strengthen and engage with more partners in order to help place more animals.
I guess at the end of the day, even though the numbers are increasing, you got a lot to work with, it's got to be gratifying that you're doing this on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's a very gratifying job. You're outside. Well, I have a love for animals, so I couldn't ask for anything better.
John, I've had a ball, man. I always wanted to learn about this, and you took me through it today. I really do appreciate it. You're doing a great job.
Oh, you're welcome.
Put this one in the who would have ever thought category. It's the 1800s, Virginia City. Mines are being opened left and right, and people are making money hand over fist. You open up a mine, nothing happens. You close it down and figure that's the end of that. 100 years later, someone comes along and figures out how to make your mine profitable. How? By attaching their establishment to it and giving tours. The Ponderosa Saloon in Virginia City.
On the corner of Taylor and C Street, The Ponderosa Saloon sits in the middle of the action on the bustling Virginia City boardwalk. A historic pub and a hub for visitors, the saloon is famous for its past enterprises and delicious hot dogs of today.
Mark,
John?
how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, thank you. It's my pleasure to meet you.
Same here, pal. Now, this is an interesting concept. You got a saloon, you got a mine, you put them together. How long has this been going on?
Since 1979, we've been doing these mine tours.
Now, the building itself, the saloon has been here a long time, and it used to be a bank.
1864.
Wow.
And it was a bank for a long time before it became a saloon. And it was what basically controlled all the money that came through this area.
The Bank of California was the first commercial bank in the western United States. Thanks to volatile mining lending, the bank failed briefly in 1875, and its disgraced president, William Ralston, swam to his death off of San Francisco, the victim of a stress-induced stroke while in the water. The bank, however, survived and went on to become Union Bank of California.
This is fascinating. And what was the name of the mine?
This was the Best and Belcher Mining Company, established this mine in 1859.
As we head out of the bar and through the thick iron doors, I get the sensation that I'm not just stepping into a mine.
How great is this?
I'm stepping into history.
On the north side of this mine, the Con Virginia, known as the Big Bonanza, did $180 million, gold and silver, and that's 1860s dollars.
Goodness gracious, that's a lot of money.
Well, just on the south side of us here, the Gould Curry did $60 million. This mine thought, hey, put a mine in between the two, we'll get rich. They did $438.
You gotta be kidding me. How does that happen?
Not all the mines out here were successful. Best Belcher each lost $1 million on this mine.
That's an extra comma in that paycheck. That's amazing.
The map here is the entire Comstock lode. All those rectangles are the mining claims active during the heydays, the late 1800s, and only 15 of all those mines actually made the owners rich.
How long was the average shift of a miner?
12 hours.
Wow.
The real productive mines would have 2 shifts.
How much were they getting paid?
The miners here in the Comstock were being paid $4 a day. And the average work pay for a miner around the world, 25 cents a day.
Brutal.
The mine shaft itself is filled with fascinating old equipment.
What is this here?
This is the powder room. And ladies, don't get compacts. It's where they store dynamite, blasting caps and fuses. And when they opened the mine for tourists, 1979, found 3 cases of unused dynamite in there, more than 100 years old. Dynamite, the older it gets, the more unstable it becomes. What dynamite is nitroglycerin and sawdust wrapped in paper. The nitroglycerin soaks through the paper and it crystallizes, and you just drop it, it'll explode.
Oh, okay, so that's not the...
No. They hired a special company to dispose of this dynamite before they ever opened for tourists.
Dynamite's not the only scary sight in the mine.
Is this a old-time elevator that I'm looking at?
Exactly. Called the hoisting cage. This was how they would raise and lower man, equipment, and ore up and down this shaft, which is 52 feet deep.
Wow, it's kind of unnerving, I would think. Here I go, I'm going down into that shaft.
Well, up here at the top of the cage, you see a bird cage.
Yeah.
Now, that is probably the largest fake canary you've ever seen.
Oh, it's fake.
But canaries were used. Best way to tell they had enough oxygen. Because if that canary stopped singing, time to get yourself and your canary out of the mine while you can still breathe.
The canary in the mine, that's what that's about.
Exactly.
And they really use that. And I told you whether or not your miners got to get out of here.
It was always male canaries.
Why is that?
Male canaries are the only canaries that sing.
Is that right?
They love to sing. That's why they used them.
Well, I got to tell you, the song that you have sung today has been great for me. I enjoy hanging around with smart people and seeing things like this.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you very much. But before we go, you got to do this with all these nice electric lights.
Yeah.
Didn't have electric lights back then. I'll show you what they used. When miners were hitting that chisel bit with that 12-pound sledgehammer, that's what they were doing it by. No flashlights, carbide lamp hadn't been invented either. And on occasion, can it go out?
Support for Outdoor Nevada comes from Jaguar Land Rover Las Vegas and Jaguar Land Rover Reno, inspiring the spirit of adventure with confidence in any terrain or conditions. Information at jlrlv.com or jlrreno.com.